Hello there, my name's Paul K Joyce, I'm a composer and I've written a new piece called Celestial. It's based on the poems of a 7-year-old boy called Johnnie Douglas-Pennant. In 2006 I found these listened to them on the radio. Very sadly these were published posthumously, but when Johnnie was 7 years of age he wrote these incredible poems about the sky, about the world through the eyes of a child. I began to slowly realise the possibilities of setting his words to music. So from a small beginning it was just me on piano and 2 vocalists, it's developed into this bigger orchestral piece. And really I want to tell you a little bit about how that recording came to pass and the various stages and hurdles that you go through in the creation of a new work. Began really with the recording of Michael Sheen's voice in Wales.
The sky, it carries wonderful things, like the stars and the sun. I don't know what we would have done without the sky.
He brought a gravitas that I don't think a young actor would have managed to bring out of Johnny's words.
At the end of the clouds is a golden line, with the sun coming up beneath it.
I've also tried to incorporate sounds from the natural world into Celestial, and celebrated sound recordist Chris Watson has contributed the most wonderful recordings of wind, birds, trees, and they bring a whole depth, a new dimension to Celestial. I was also lucky enough to work with one of the world's greatest guitarists, Steve Howe from Yes. He played steel guitar on the track I'll Remember You, and he brings the most wonderful virtuosity to this song.
Okay, here we go. And recording.
Of course the next stage was the remarkable virtuoso violinist Jonathan Hill. He multi-tracked his various hideously expensive violins until we created effectively an orchestra. He had a technique whereby he could record one violin and then another and another and another and another until this huge orchestral sound resulted. It was a game changer for Celestial, really.
One of the most exciting bits of Celestial was the Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign.
I'm asking you to help me fund this recording. It's not easy to ask people for money. It just isn't. But what I didn't realise that I'd be in fact building a community of dedicated backers who were prepared to see the project through. One of the rewards, as they're termed, was the fact that you could contribute your sung voice to the project, and many of the backers did. And so we created literally a crowd-funded choir, and together, and it did feel very much together, we were able to move forward and bring the project to a conclusion, really, which culminated in the orchestral recording at Livingston Studios in London. The orchestral day took a lot of preparation, a lot of score writing, so that on the day it would be perfect. We had a woodwind section, a brass, 2 horns, harp with the inimitable Skylar Kanga, and behind them, percussion. It was an amazing experience because they are among the greatest orchestral players in this country. Then, of course, we had the beginnings of the vocal recordings. The first was Ashton, Henry-Reid. Ashton is a young man from London with a bright future ahead of him.
Nice one, that's it, perfect.
He was incredible and brings a youthfulness, spark, verve, vitality to the recordings that just lift them into... They went exactly to where I hoped they might go, beyond even.
With the sun coming out, with the sun coming out, with the sun coming out, beneath it. With the sun coming out, with the sun coming out. Sun.
One of the treats was recording Stagecoach, a youth choir from Newquay at Falmouth University. We were in a beautiful space, wooden floored, perfect acoustic for recording a choir. We had a great time. They, being untrained, give a certain, you could hear the spark in their voices that a professional trained choir wouldn't necessarily have in quite the same way. In addition to the youthful vitality of the younger singers that I work with, Celestial needed a more defined and precise vocal, a bit like some of those wonderful Philip Glass or Steve Reich compositions. No vibrato, very accurate, and I was lucky enough to work with three great singers who sang on most of the tracks and brought a real discipline and precision to the recordings.
I don't know what we would have done without the sky.
We then, at the same studios in London, added the incredible Stephanie Sounds, who she only sings on one track, Daydream, but what a performance. She lifts that track into just a whole other realm with her extemporised and improvised vocals. In a creative endeavour, there are all sorts of things going on in your mind. You think you've got it all sorted, and then you'll be doing something completely unconnected with music, and you think, it's got to have drums. And through a contact, I got in touch with Bjerre, who's one of the top session drummers in the country. And he just brought something I couldn't have expected to the project. And of course, all those elements exist. The vocals, the orchestra, Michael Sheen's voice, and they all have to be blended together. The mix is arguably the important moment in the project. I was lucky enough to be able to go to Real World Studios in Bath, Peter Gabriel's studio, and spent a few days there, and we brought it all together. Celestial has taken many years to reach this point. I've worked with some amazing people and I'm so grateful for their contributions. I hope that this project does justice to the amazing words of Johnnie Douglas-Pennant.